This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
After a very long-awaited decision and much anticipation, Pete Alonso and the Mets are getting married, everyone. Hi, welcome into another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we're two Syracuse reporters with a baseball podcast. We came on here late at night after our shifts because some big breaking news happened. Pete Alonso and the Mets are reunited, baby. How we feeling?
Oh, it's always about 11 p.m. Eastern time, a crisp 11 o'clock. You know that that Jeff Passan bomb is coming. But yeah, Petey's back. Our long national nightmare of the Pete Alonso saga is over. I probably have never been so happy about anything in my life. And you know what? It had the outcome that we were looking for. The polar bear, he's out of hibernation. He's back in Queens. He took the winter off. He's coming out of hibernation. You know, all the good jokes.
You know what Pete Alonso got?
What?
A grip.
He got a grip. No, Pete Alonso got a grip. I've been waiting to say that for so long. He really did. Scott Boras, more than anybody, got a grip. So that's great.
Yes. Pete Alonso re-signs with the Mets on a 2-year, $54 million contract to end the free agency saga, okay? The Mets are running it back. It's one of their biggest homegrown stars. And it includes a $10 million signing bonus and an opt-out after the first season, according to sources.
Yes.
What do you think about this deal?
Yeah, day 93, by the way, of the long national
Shut up.
nightmare. 93 days that this free agency was going on. I know. So that's like 3 months. It's a long time.
It's a long time to care about this.
It's a long time to care. Like, I was, in terms of caring scale, this was getting left behind. Yeah, in terms of the deal, I mean, I think it's a home run. I think it's a home run for the Mets, and I think it's a home run for Alonso. I think this is the player club-friendly deal that both sides, David Stearns and Scott Boras, were really working towards, right? Front-loaded, you get $30 million the first year, no deferred money, which we heard that Pete didn't want. So Pete gets to go out there. Then he has a player option the second year. We'll see if he takes it. I mean, to me, this kind of has the writing on the wall all over it, that he has a good year this year, doesn't take it, tries to shop around for that big deal again. Even if he does take it, it's completely in the Mets' favor. And we can get into, you know, bigger picture why. But I just think it's good for both sides. The Mets get what they wanted on a cheaper price. Alonso gets, you know, the annual value, I guess he was looking for in the $30 million this year. And he gets the opt-out that he wanted as well.
Yes, $30 million this year. And I have to say, now that I'm putting it sort of into perspective and I looked at the numbers, we talk a lot about the fact that he rejected the 7-year, $158 million deal. That's $22 million per year, though.
Right.
So he really did get what he wanted. I thought in my mind, you know, the number $158 million is so big. You guys know from the mean median thing, I'm not going to act like math is my best skill.
Not going to be out here pretending about that.
But I know that Alonso got what he wanted in this deal based on those figures. So you're right. It's really both sides coming together and both sides ultimately getting what they wanted.
Yeah, I think the Mets, this was what we were talking about throughout this saga, right? This was a tale of the Mets needed Alonso and Alonso needed the Mets. Alonso went out there, he shopped, he didn't like what he saw. In fact, actually, there were no buyers other than the Mets. And the Mets,
right,
he was their best option to come back in the lineup and to protect Juan Soto. Now you look at the Mets 1 through 4. Give me a Mets 1 through 4, which now they have, of Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Mark Vientos, and Pete Alonso in whatever order. Any day of the week. I'll take that.
I mean, it's a money situation.
Oh, my God.
It literally was like, I feel like it was like Pete Alonso went around to his friends and was like, I'm leaving my wife. And then he looked around and he's like, wait, no one else is out here. I should probably go back.
Right. I should probably go back. No, it was
honey, I'm coming home.
The Mets won this. Please. The Mets won the stare down, right? Because this was the saga all winter. Who's gonna cave? And in a sense from this deal, you kind of get the picture that neither side really caved. All right, sure, Alonso came back to the Mets after all this, probably left money on the table in Toronto, if those reports are true, to come back to New York. But you wouldn't really say that he got a bad end of the deal, right? He gets $30 million. I said it a few episodes. If I'm Pete, give me a 1-year deal, which this is basically a 1-year deal with an option on his end for a second year. Give me a 1-year deal, $30 million. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Sure. Now you get to bet on yourself again. You lost the first time. We'll see if you can hit it big this time.
I completely agree. I almost feel like this Alonso deal is essentially the cherry on top of the Soto cake.
Yeah,
It was that one little extra additional piece that you needed to feel more comfortable about the batting lineup. And again, I'm not saying there's not still unanswered questions. I think the pitching is still sort of a disaster. I wanted to use curse words there, but I won't because our boss said that we shouldn't do that as much anymore. But
Only when warranted. We'll let you know.
they said when warranted, so we're supposed to figure out what that
So
means.
we're supposed to gauge it. All right. Who trusted us?
But you know what I mean? I think, of course, there's still unanswered questions, but I think, in a way, I don't know why I thought of this tonight, but I almost feel like it's the opposite problem of, let's just say, like the Yankees. Like the Yankees have all this great pitching, but there's issues with their lineup. So I guess the moral of the story is you can't have it all. All I know is that going into this season, the 2025 season, I feel like the Mets are in a better place than they were before. So surely that means they had a good offseason.
Yeah, I think this signing squarely puts the Mets in the home run category of an offseason. Now, the Dodgers like hit a grand slam and won a World Series and quite literally all of that.
Yep.
That's just a different stratosphere. But in terms of behind the Dodgers, I think now you look at the offseason that the Mets put back together, who they brought back, who they signed outside of the organization. Obviously, Soto right at the top of that list, but some others. And you really look at it at top to bottom as a complete picture. John Heyman is reporting that Alonso chose between $54 million for 2 years and $71 million for 3. So allegedly, the Mets had that offer, upped it a little bit, I guess, $71 million for 3 years, and he took the shorter deal, betting on himself with the higher first-year pay. So it's very clear to me what Alonso wants here. He wants that kind of, 1 year prove yourself again situation, even if he is to opt into the second year. I mean, that's still $24 million the second year. That's not exactly the worst situation if you're Pete Alonso. Takes a little bit of the pressure off, and to some extent, it takes the pressure off the Mets too, because half the problem that we were talking about with this deal was, all right, why don't we like it? Well, we don't like it because Pete Alonso is an aging first baseman who is heading towards becoming a DH, terrible defensively, really a one-trick pony power hitter type guy, right? Now, if you're the Mets, you don't have to think about all that. You don't have to think about the fact that it's his 30th birthday. You got him for 1 year, maybe 2. We can cross that bridge again when we come to it. To me, it seems fairly obvious we're not going to cross that bridge again, and it's either going to be 1 or 2 more years of Pete Alonso. But it just kind of takes the pressure off of all parties.
Of everyone. Like, you just know everybody is out having a drink tonight feeling good about this.
Everybody's cheersing.
And they should be. Cheers.
Clink.
Besides us.
I don't have
And
a
they
clink
should
today.
be, though. They should be. Honestly, I was looking at some of the stuff that was being written about him, right? Like, this, again, is the homegrown star. He arrived in 2019. The Mets is the only team he's played for. Outside of Aaron Judge, who had 232 home runs during that time. No player had hit more home runs in those years than Alonso with 226. MLB rookie record of 53 home runs, pair of home run derby crowns to his name. I mean, and of course also the playoff run this year and the Brewers and all of that. He's somebody who, despite the fact that he's not always consistent, not hitting, many singles and whatnot. And yes, to your point, I would feel comfortable saying a one-trick pony. He did come up in clutch moments. He came up in times when it mattered. He performed well in the postseason. And I really do think that the Mets was the best place for him to be and that the Mets are better because he's on that team now.
I agree. We were solely in the camp of we had gone back and forth on, what feels appropriate, what does he deserve, what's an overpay. I think this is appropriate. I think this is a deal that the fan base is happy with, that we're certainly happy with. We agreed the entire time that Alonso was the best option on the free agent market to hit behind Juan Soto and to fortify that lineup in some sense. You talked about legacy. Definitely worth noting that he is 17 home runs away from becoming the Mets' all-time home run leader. He is going to pass, or 17 away from passing David Wright. 27 from becoming the all-time home run leader and passing Darryl Strawberry. So if everything goes according to plan, I don't think Pete's ever hit less than 27 home runs. He will become the Mets' all-time home run leader, which is a crazy legacy to leave.
That is so cool. So cool. And listen, I don't want people to think, we're on here and we're not going to acknowledge some of the bad parts about Alonso, right? I'm reading this from an article from Passan, but it said Alonso's production declined over the past 3 seasons, with his OPS decreasing from 869 to 821 to 788 over that span. His Fangraphs wins above replacement dropped from 3.8 to 2.8 to 2.1, and his 34 home runs in 2024 were a career low for a full season. That's why we didn't know what camp to be in.
Yeah.
We understood and saw and still feel that we're not exactly sure what to expect, but still feel confident enough, I think, that in 2025 it'd be better to have him than not.
We were in the for the right price camp, and I think we got the right price, which $30 million for 1 year is a steep price, but we got the right commitment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That 1-2 years, that feels about where we should be.
We were feeling non-committal.
We were feeling non-committal.
We didn't want a long-term
which
commitment.
We often feel. No, we did not want to get married. I know
alone.
that everybody, I know that everyone is going to look at this deal and the media narrative in spring training. Ooh, baby. SNY just got to Port St. Lucie. Petey's going to arrive. The trucks, the cameras, lights, camera, action. They're going to be in his face being like, after all the drama, you know,
Yep.
we're the media. So we do it too. Like if I was covering that team,
I'd
it's
be
going to
here
be
with it.
all about the heart right in his face. Like he's like making out with the mic. Sorry. It's all going to be, you know, the hard feelings, the drama in the off season. That's what the New York media is going to make of this. And I am going to be on the edge of my seat for every second because I love a good drama. But what I would like to point out.
She's watching it like it's a sitcom,
I'm like eating my
please.
popcorn. I'm like, this is great. I don't think Pete is going to have hard feelings towards the Mets. Like, that is not where I would take this at all. Pete, if anything, is going to be more motivated than ever to be like, all right, this went so awry. Honestly, it was a national media PR nightmare.
Yeah.
Now I got to go out there. I got my $30 million for 1 year, which is a superstar average annual value. I mean, that's fantastic if you just want to look at that part of it. And now I got to go out there and prove that I deserve a big deal, which at 31, 32, we've touched on it. Is anybody going to give him the big deal? I don't know. But he's going to be motivated and fired up to dispel, I guess, the narrative over this whole thing, in my opinion.
I hope that that's not the media narrative because honestly, didn't you also feel like the second that news broke, every single person was like, it's all good in the family again.
No, everybody.
Mom and dad are getting back together.
Everybody's hugging. They're like, I'm like, you guys weren't speaking 2 days
Right?
ago. What's going on?
No, I know. They're like, oh, it's always just a break. Dad was
No,
always
I
coming
know.
home.
Right, but was
Come
he?
on.
Was he?
Right.
Dad was going up to Canada. I mean, he was crossing international borders. Let me tell
He
you.
was testing the waters.
Yeah, so we'll see about it. We'll see what he's able to do this year. I know we got on here and we talked about how excited we are, as I know many Mets fans are, about the prospect of grabbing Vlad Guerrero when he is inevitably a free agent from Toronto after next season, if Toronto doesn't extend him. I was sparked to think of this because my father's text to me upon this news was, Vladdy Daddy will be a Met.
no, he didn't say
our
that.
Super team. I
He
swear
didn't
to
say
God,
that.
look at the text.
He did not say
Vladdy
that.
Daddy will be a Met and join our super team.
Rich Wenskoski.
Said that.
You're in
But-
trouble.
You're in timeout. But on a serious note, I am not going to call him that. I'm going to call him Vlad.
I'm going to call
for
him
the good of
Vladdy
the
Daddy.
order. All right. All right. If my dad did it, I guess it's acceptable. This is going to, this is going to raise questions about, will the Mets still go after Vlad Guerrero? Are they still in his market? What if he's, say, on the trade market at the All-Star break this year? What if Pete Alonso opts into the second year of that deal? This is not just a cut and dry one and done 1 year. You know what I mean? What if Pete Alonso opts into the second year? Now you got Alonso and you got Vlad on the free agent market. But I saw a good note on Twitter by Michael Marino that the Mets could still pursue Vlad even if Pete opts into that second year because they could just make him a DH. I know maybe that's not exactly where he wants to be at 31, 32, but you make Pete the DH for like a year before his contract ends. I think the bigger picture that you take away from that is they kept it to 2 years so they have the flexibility to do what they want going forward. And now Mark Vientos, good friend of the program, doesn't have to learn first base. You get back on over to third, buddy.
Great friend of the program. Matter of fact, he might be family.
Yeah, we love Mark.
But can you just let me bask in it for a minute? You see, guys, this is what she does. Ashley's like, so what's going to happen in the future? What's going to
I
happen
want Vlad
next week?
Guerrero, so I'm convincing myself. I'm like, this doesn't mean we're out on Vladdy.
No, I totally agree with that. By the way, just want to mention this. This is a little bit of an aside, but just so we don't forget, also the news today about Bader and the Twins. Worth mentioning that they agreed to a 1 year deal. Again, just wanted to throw it out there and see what you thought. Obviously, he was with the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing was on the wall there that the Mets were going to sign Winker or Bader. You probably don't need both. He had a really heartfelt social media goodbye to the Mets and really brought a tear to my eye that it was so special to be part of the 2024 Mets and it was so great. I think he loved being a Met. I think he fit, the culture and the vibe around that team last year.
Completely.
So it's sad a little bit, but I mean, he didn't really fit in the scope in the outfield. There was just kind of a log jam of depth there.
I love that word so much. I'm
Logjam.
using the word logjam for the rest of the week. Listen, all I'm going to say is any man who wears pink shirts is a friend of mine. Period.
And that's Harrison Bader.
That's all I have to say about it.
We are going to start a dialogue, as Charles Barkley would say, about the Mets and signing Vlad Guerrero, and that's not a narrative that I'm going to drop anytime soon. But for now, Pete Alonso's back, and we can focus on Petey. Tell us how you feel in the comments if you're a Mets fan. Are you happy? Are you happy with the deal? Are you happy with, what David Stearns and Steve Cohen ended up, I guess, pulling out?
And what are you not happy about? We're ready to hear it all. Thanks as always for sticking with us, for joining us, and we'll see you whenever the next big thing happens.
And if you're watching us, please subscribe, by the way. We don't say that enough, but please like, comment, do all that. But subscribing helps us, and it doesn't really do anything to you. So please.
No, it's actually a good point, not to thirst trap it, but we get this feedback all the time from the people who are above us. We love the fact that you guys watch, and that matters a lot. But if we get subscriptions, is that it? Subscriptions?
Yes.
It really does. It helps
Helps us the most.
It helps us as friends of the program. If you want to be a friend of the program, please subscribe. I'll start saying that at the beginning of the episode from now on.
Very good. Pete Alonso got a grip.
Pete Alonso got a grip. See you next time.